You know those albums that have no skips? This is one of them, and it kind of revived rock music in the post-Nirvana era of the late 90s. At the time, radio was flooded with glossy pop like Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls. And then in 1996, a few weeks before this up-and-coming band named Oasis was scheduled to perform in San Francisco, this random dude named Stephen Jenkins was in an Epic record label executive's office. What's up? My name's Dawson. Every week I make these videos about what I'm listening to. I talk about the stories and the context of the songs that you may have never heard. I tell one longer story in the beginning and then I go into a couple of shorter ones at the end. The demo tape for Jenkins' band called Third Eye Blind was kind of circulating around, and it had landed on this guy named Dave Massey's desk, who was an executive for Epic Records, had signed Oasis in America, and he liked it, and so he invited Jenkins to come chat. While they were talking, he asks when the band's next show is, and Jenkins replies in his hubristic way, "Why don't you put us on the bill with Oasis?" And Massey picks up the phone and says, "Consider it done." At the show, the Oasis fanatic-filled crowd chants for Third Eye Blind to play an encore, which is super rare for an opening band. And then the promoter ends up paying them double. So basically everyone loved it. And then this kind of kickstarts this bidding war between all of the top record labels and eventually lands Third Eye Blind like this massive record/publishing deal. And then a year later, almost to the day of the Oasis show, Third Eye Blind puts out this self-titled album that goes on to sell more than 6 million copies in the US alone. It has 5 hit singles, which is unheard of from a rock band, especially from their debut album. Artists like Jeff Buckley, who I've talked about, were raving about them. Oasis had them back out when they came to tour the US again. U2 had them out when they came to tour the US. And there are just no skips on this album. Like, it is phenomenally well written. The melodies are insane. The music production is insane. They spent a ton of time recording it. They actually recorded it at Skywalker Ranch, which is George Lucas's sound studio, where he mixed all the Star Wars movies. You've definitely heard Semi-Charmed Life, which is still a massive hit and is played on the radio all the time. But I really like Losing a Whole Year, the first song on the album. Graduate is really good. Motorcycle Drive-By is really good. Jenkins got a degree from UC Berkeley in English, and all of his lyrics are deeply personal and vulnerable. He's asking a lot of questions in the lyrics. And there's this kind of uneasy, but like relatable thing that's underneath all of the songs. It's like angry but sophisticated pop rock that bridges the gap between grunge and what becomes alternative rock in the early 2000s. One reason they were so successful at this was because they had these super heavy rock songs like Graduate, but then they also had these very soft, vulnerable songs like God of Wine that showed this other side of them, and I think it makes it more accessible to listeners. But before Third Eye Blind was writing vulnerable rock songs about mental health, this artist was winning Grammys while he was doing it. Chris Cornell started struggling with addiction and depression at the age of 12, saying that his mother saved his life when he was 14 just by buying him a snare drum. He started his first band at the age of 16, and a few years later started this band called Soundgarden. That band's fourth album, Super Unknown, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top 200, and Black Hole Sun was this mega hit in 1994. When Soundgarden broke up in the late 90s, early 2000s, he started this band called Audioslave with members of Rage Against the Machine. And if you have not heard the Audioslave album, please do yourself a favor. If you like rock music, listen to that because it is phenomenal. Chris Cornell passed away in 2017 by what was ruled a suicide and has left this monolithic legacy. I heard this song called Seasons for the first time when I was watching this Rick Beato video about the top 20 acoustic guitar intros of all time. I had never heard of it, and last week I was just on YouTube, as I am, and came across this video. I hear the Chris Cornell one, and I'm like, I definitely need to go listen to this. It's not only a great song, but I think it's a great window into Cornell's talent and kind of versatility. It's literally just him with an acoustic guitar playing really interesting riffs, hitting these harmonics, and just keeping you super interested for like 6 minutes. He's talking about being lost and what he's never gonna find. And he's truly just one of the greatest songwriters, artists of our time, and will continue to influence generations. John Mayer once spoke about how bands like the Grateful Dead require an entry point. You don't just hear a song and then immediately become a fan. It's kind of an acquired taste like coffee or something. I might regret putting this on the internet, but I've still not had my entry point into Led Zeppelin. Obviously, they're one of the greatest bands of all time and have influenced generations, but I don't know, just like hasn't hit me. I do really like their acoustic songs though, and I've been listening to Going to California, which I've always really liked by them, but I've been listening to it over the last week. I think Jimmy Page's guitar playing really shines on this song. Robert Plant's dynamic range shows a lot, where he's like starting super low and then gets crazy high and maintains this same tone the whole time. But I don't know. I've never gotten into the heavier stuff, really. Can someone please convince me to like Led Zeppelin? Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you listen to great music this week.